Maiden voyage. Here we
go.
At its core, insurance is investing in the future.
There is insane amounts of money in the insurance game, especially if you're doing it right.
I opened up an agency for them in 2008, like right when the market crashed.
I just was like, I'll call anybody that will listen.
And you got a cease and desist letter.
I did. The pandemic for me was this ultimate marketing for small business.
The way that they were willing to compensate me, you were like, Daniel, if you're that valuable to them, imagine how valuable you are to yourself.
Well, everyone, welcome to the Risky Assets podcast. My name is Charlie Deaver. I am one of the co-founders of Greyhawk Insurance.
And I'm Daniel Clark, the other co-founder.
And we are starting a podcast. This is going to be a channel about entrepreneurship, really, with sprinkles of insurance in it. That is what we do. We are commercial, life, health, and personal insurance agents and brokers. So
yeah, we'll talk some asset protection, wealth management, things of that nature. And
we just want this channel to be a resource for people who think of insurance as maybe a dirty word. We are here to change that. We know we do it at a high level, and we think we provide a lot of value to you. So, sit back, relax, enjoy. We're going to do an intro to us and Greyhawk and kind of what we're about, and then hopefully some other podcasts with really cool people in the future.
Well, why don't you tell us how you got started in the industry, what your background is there, and sort of leading up to how we started Greyhawk, and then I'll do the same.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a funny story because like we talked about, insurance was something I chose, which is super rare. When I was looking at becoming an insurance agent, the average age was 56 years old. And I was like, these are just grandpas that I know I'm going to be able to outlast, so to speak. So I had a pretty significant ankle surgery, and I was like, man, what am I going to do with my life? I was married, and I was selling portable toilets, which is a story in and of itself. But yeah, for me, I was just starting to do all right, do I want to do accounting? Do I want to do wealth management? And a lot of that stuff just didn't speak to me personally. I kind of wanted to do something that allowed me some free time. And I had a mentor at the time who was doing insurance and doing very well for himself. And he was involved at the church we were at. And
so you were in sales.
I wasn't. I mean, hey, I was selling portable toilets, right? So for me, anything was up from there. But man, I was sitting there. I had my ankle up on my bed after a surgery, and I was like, I'm going to do insurance. It was just something that I had seen as a great opportunity, I thought, for the industry to change and be disrupted with someone younger. And that's kind of proven to be true. It is getting older and older. The average age is 58 now for insurance agents. So man, I'm 32, and it's I'm just outlasting a lot of these cats right now. At that point, I went out, I got my license, I passed the test on crutches. From there, I went on a job hunt. That mentor who was at that Bible study ended up hiring me, which was honestly a huge blessing to me. And that was 10 years ago now.
Wow.
And it's been a good road. And, for me, all the things that were said of sales is true. It was a lot of hard work, and I made a lot of great connections, and over time, those connections really grew, and that was kind of it for me. And all the things that I thought 10 years ago for insurance have come true, and it's been a great lifestyle, and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think we're both here for the long haul.
Yeah.
I have always been in sales from selling computers at Best Buy to selling, burial plots at a funeral home.
We both have weird stories for the in-betweens. Yeah.
I've always been in sales. I was working for the largest payroll company in the United States, ADP.
Yeah, good old ADP.
And I was selling small business for them. And my mom was working for a State Farm agent. She's worked for a State Farm agent for years. And she didn't have direct deposit. So I was like, I should talk to this guy about direct deposit. I'm always trying to close deals. And so I had an appointment with him, and I sat down at the table with him. And I said, this is what it costs for direct deposit, tax filing, things like that. And then we got through the end of the presentation, and he was like, okay, so if I buy this product, how much do you make? And I did some quick math, and I was like, probably $150. And he goes, now, if I stay with the payroll company year over year, do you get paid that $150 again? I'm like, no. And he flat out looked at me and he was like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
And I was pretty taken back because I was making a good living.
So you thought.
I was knocking doors. I was cold calling a lot, but I was holding down decent bucks, from doing it. And he said, listen, this is insurance agents build a snowball, and this is
a big boy annuity. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, this is an overall lifestyle. He said, every year I pretty much know guaranteed I'm going to make $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, and then we grow beyond that. He's like, we get bonuses and things like that. But this is a perpetual thing. It just keeps going. And, he asked me if I'd be interested in taking the test to become a State Farm agent. And apparently 40% of the people that take it actually pass it. They're looking for a very specific personality profile.
Oh, okay. So it's not like a
no.
written test. It's a personality test.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it.
So I took the test, I passed it. And then it was about a year and a half later that something opened in one of the territories that I was looking for. And they called me. I opened up an agency for them in 2008, like right when the market crashed. It was beautiful how well we
that's poor timing. How many years did you own that?
9 years.
9 years.
So did it for 9 years, had some success there. We traveled the world on State Farm's dollar, qualified for their travel program, Senior Vice President's Club, things of that nature. Made a lot of friends there.
Yeah.
And ultimately what it boiled down to was being a captive insurance agent, like for a company like State Farm, you have one option for your clients. And what it turned into was when my clients either, had claims and got insurance discontinued, or they were no longer an appetite for State Farm, I had to look at people that I had done business with for so many years and say, hey, not only can you not be insured with this company anymore, but I can't be your insurance agent anymore. And so I started exploring the market of independent agency. And then I landed at the agency that you were working at.
Yep. I think that's a good kind of segue for us of like, hey, how did Greyhawk come to be? From my perspective, I had been looking for ownership in the previous agency we were at for a while. I was driving a fair amount of the business through the door. It was definitely one of those things to where I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have ownership. I wanted to have some influence. And over the years, that conversation of, hey, let me buy, just never came to fruition.
Yeah. Well, and we both recognized that it was a family-owned and operated business.
It was a family-owned operated business, which is great.
Which is fine. Yeah. And we're fine with business owners wanting to, pass along their assets, everything that they build to their children. We're totally fine with that. Yeah. It just became a point where we were pushing the plow really hard, and we felt like it wasn't going towards us.
No, it wasn't. And we just had, conversations over the years because I think we saw the writing on the wall. We just kind of wanted it to not be true that we were going to be locked out from that ownership structure. But we had gone on a bonus trip to Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, which again, we're huge golf nerds, and I love going out there and playing. And so did our previous employer and some of our buddies there. And that's how we did bonus trips, which was phenomenal. It was great. And we so happened to play at a course called Greyhawk Country Club, and it's phenomenal. Yeah. And we, in one of the rounds, we're together, and we were just like, "Hey, man, look at us! Like we've come a long way. It's a really cool bonus trip." And
we had both had really good solid sales years as well. And so we were both, taking a look at what the future was looking like for us.
It was over $100,000 that year for each of us, right? Did you do like 140 or something like that?
I was at 140,000 in new commissions that year,
which is a big year for a small agency. That's doing really well.
Yeah.
No marketing budgets, right? It's just pushing the plow on our own. So it's a good year.
Yeah. Developing referral sources, writing new business. It was just, and really you're working. I mean, you are. Yeah. You're hustling for that.
Yeah. And so we had discussed like, man, we should, if things don't pan out in the future the way we think we should talk.
In our final year there, I had gone and interviewed at a few different agencies and got a job offer that I was excited about from a large house that I was like, I can do this. I can work for these people. It's a different structure, but I feel like it's going to benefit me in the end. And you and I were such good friends that I remember I walked into your office.
This dude walks into my office and he was like, hey man, I want to tell you, I love you. And it's been really great working with you, but I'm going to take another job offer. And I literally went, time out. What?
Well, and you brought up the point because, the way that they were willing to compensate me, you were like, Daniel, if you're that valuable to them, imagine how valuable you are to yourself.
Yeah.
And it was really eye-opening. I had done business ownership for 9 years, and it wasn't something that I was really looking at getting back into unless I found a good partnership, and somebody that I knew could outweigh my weaknesses.
Our partnership makes sense for a lot of reasons. And it's because we're so different.
Yeah.
I'm not the HR guy. Nor do you want me to be the HR guy. It's not that I'm mean. I'm just so to the point. Like I am a producer. I am a type A.
Sure.
I am very like, I cut it like I see it. I'm not being mean. I'm just not sugarcoating it. Doesn't work well with people who fold real easy with some pressure.
Yeah.
So that's usually not a producer, right? Like, so I run the producing. I run the, hey, training for producers. I keep them accountable. I'm kind of a sales manager.
Yeah. I mean, through and through, you are a driver of business.
Yeah.
I would say creatively as well. Like you're always thinking of new ways to change, especially when it comes to technology and things like that. You're always looking at how do we drive the ship forward. And so, and then when it came to my abilities, it was like, I'm a lot more administrative. I'm a lot more relational in the sense that I can handle
So good with people.
people with with a soft touch, figuring out, what motivates them, what drives them, and also, what makes them feel secure in a job. And then I'm happy to handle all of the, borderline counseling things that come through the door of a business owner of, here's what's going on in my life and all of that stuff. My office is a safe place for that. So we can, we talk through all of those things as well.
And it's not that it's not for me. It's just not what I would want to do every single day, which it is for you. And that's a huge benefit.
Well,
to,
and it's
to us.
quite frankly, with Greyhawk, it's a waste of our assets and our funds. It's like, we are better prepared to attack the market with you driving the ship on sales and me managing staff. Like, that's just,
Yeah, that's kind of how we've cut things. And, someone who I've kind of looked up to is Ryan Pineda. He talked about having like an operator and an integrator.
Yeah.
And it was before we even heard that term, we were like, oh, hey, look, we did it right.
Yeah, this is us. This is us through and through. Yeah.
Through the pandemic, I've had this, big, I don't want to say realization, but the pandemic for me was this ultimate marketing for small business, because all the big businesses squeeze their employees like no end. They're gonna make you do this, make you do that. You can't do this, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, why would you do that? Go work for a small business. You're valuable, obviously. You have a good job for a big company. You have skills. Go do it somewhere where it's small and they won't squeeze you like that.
Yeah.
And that to me still rings true. I think small business, if you want to live a life you want to live, it's the place to do it. And so I was looking at you. I'm like, don't go to the big business.
Yeah.
Go to the small guy. Be your own boss. It will work out in the end, especially because of the skill sets that we know we had.
Yeah.
And insurance, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I mean, you look at Warren Buffett, you look at all these people in insurance, there is insane amounts of money in the insurance game, especially if you're doing it right. And there's kind of a blueprint for that. And again, we're going to talk more about that in the future.
Yeah,
but like,
for sure.
Selling auto and home's not going to make you rich, but being a entrepreneur with other entrepreneurs, it's kind of how I best want to describe it.
Yeah.
It's where it's at. You provide huge amounts of value to them, and you make good money.
Yeah.
And
scale,
renewals is huge for us too, right? Like, it pays you again as long as you keep doing a good job. It's fantastic.
And you scale, you hire good producers. Those are things, over time. It really is a matter of building with the right people.
Totally.
As well.
Another good segue for us, like, how have you built your business, right? And like, we've talked about it a lot, but for people who are watching, like, what have you done well? What has gotten you to where you're at today?
Yeah, I think I was trained in the sense of, cold calling, door knocking was a big part of sales. And I agree that it can be. And if you do those things in large volumes, then you're going to get large numbers out of it. No doubt about it.
Totally.
I started going a different direction in marketing to centers of influence. In this case, I used all of my old friendships and relationships from State Farm, and we'll work on the things that they send in to me. We don't work on other lines. We'll notate the system so that even our staff knows, like, hey, I can't talk to this client about these different products. And
you're not a fox in the hen house,
right,
which is huge for them to understand they can trust someone that won't poach their business.
Yeah. If that client contacts
anybody else,
another broker, and they're, that broker is instantly salivating over the opportunity to write everything else that's with a State Farm agent,
which is what we do. Right,
absolutely.
We're going to go tackle all of it.
If it's not referred to us, absolutely.
We're going to tackle all of it. So
absolutely.
It's just what everyone does.
And so the opportunity for a State Farm agent to refer me and know that we're essentially closing the back door of their business, and that the client lines that they currently have with them are safe, and that we're not going to...
Huge value to them.
Yeah, we're not going to impede upon them in that regard.
And we've always talked, we want to be a collaborative competitor. So like, we want to work with people, and this is a great opportunity to do that. We just feel like if you're doing the right thing, the money will come, right?
Yes.
And like, we've just said, hey, we can partner with you. It's easier to partner with people than compete with them, to be honest.
Yeah.
For how we see it. Now, we compete all the time, but partnering is so nice.
Yeah.
With these State Farm farmers, all state people, it's been phenomenal.
Well, and some of those clients have asked us, hey, I've got these other lines with this State Farm agent. Can you quote these as well? My answer is absolutely not.
Yep.
Because I would rather lose the client on day one than lose a really solid referral source. I work with over 50 of them in the state.
Yeah. You've really built that out. You're continuing to grow it. We visit a lot of State Farm agencies. We've partnered with farmers and Allstate guys. We just see it as a great place to help.
And what that has made me is sort of a catch-all for a lot of risky opportunities.
So risky.
People that have a hard time finding insurance in other places. A lot of distressed workers comp, like people that have a lot of pain,
a lot of claims,
a lot of claims.
Yep.
Lots of difficulties in that regard. And so it's sort of made us a landing place for those people. I write a lot of security guard firms.
Yep.
We do some stuff in sanitation, and then we've recently gotten more into Turo as well, which has been really fun because you get people that are doing the self rental thing, like an Airbnb style for cars.
It is, yeah, and it's been great.
Which is a really unique space, and we have a really good program for it. So it's been fun to explore.
Yeah, it's made you,
level.
I think, over the years too, since I've been a broker, you've had to be more creative because State Farm is very like you do what you do, and then you having to get all these leads that are foreign to you. Yeah, you've had to get way more creative, learn the markets, and then on my end, I used to sell those portable toilets. I used to rent them on top of it to the entertainment industry, which is a fun gig, to be honest. You're around a lot of cool people, a lot of cool things. You don't sleep a lot, it's production. So I'd be getting calls at 3:00 in the morning, like, hey man, we needed this or this. And it was kind of it was a tough game. When I got into insurance, I was like, I worked with all these people in the entertainment industry who are renting in different capacities. And I was like, I wonder if I called them back if they would work with me.
Yeah, how it would hit. Yeah.
And boy, that's been my bread and butter. Those are my people, and I say that when I talk to someone new in the entertainment industry who's renting equipment to productions. I say, like, you're my people, and I mean it. Like I lived that life for 2 years, and I know what it's like to rent to the production industry. I know what it's like to be all over the place. I know what it's like to be in traffic and try and deliver stuff. Yeah, a lot of stress in that industry and field. So anyway, I found entertainment programs that were built for this kind of thing and just let it go. I just was like, I'll call anybody that will listen. Yeah. And my first account was my largest account for 5 years. Yeah. So they've now sold, and that company sold for a little over 200 million, and they did really well. That was my first account. And I remember sitting there at this breakfast place, and I'm like, God above, please just don't let this go bad, and I knew he was going to be big. It was very obvious that people knew who this guy was. And
was that just a cold call?
Well, again, I had been working with them because they were sub-renting.
So that was somebody that you had worked with. Okay.
And they were like, you know what? Sure. Yeah. Like, quote us. Let's see how it goes. And I did. We're at his breakfast spot in Burbank. And I remember it was husband and wife. I had gone off of a lot of information. The wife had told me about the business, quoted it. Husband goes, that's half of the amount of coverage we need for a certain line of business. And I was like, oh. And because I was so scared of screwing up, I put the underwriter on blast saying, I'm going to be in this meeting from 11 to 12. Please just sit next to your cell phone if something goes wrong. Yeah. Right there in front of him, I picked up the phone. I was like, yo, Carlos, I need you to double this coverage, and I basically can't move the price. And he was like, I'll send it to you in 5 minutes. And that was how I got that account. Wow. So I remember that being a ballsy move on my part to just sit there and call, because that could have gone poorly for me. Yeah. But it didn't. And then from there, it exploded. The business exploded on me. Anybody would take my call. I'd say, hey, I'm working with this company, and here's what I did, and it was over. Yeah. And that's been my bread and butter now for like 8 years.
Well, and to the point where you became a huge threat for another broker in the industry that was doing insurance, and you got a cease and desist letter.
I did. I knew. I got that letter. It scared me for a second. I'd never seen an attorney's letterhead before. Yeah. So I was like, what is this? And then I was like, wait. Can you do a cease and desist for taking too much business? I was like, I had no idea, but it was basically, they wanted to just scare me out. I was draining that business, and I was getting the ears of a lot of people. Yeah. So I have large apartment schedules. Just getting into that helped me to learn it deeply. It was a complex account. Yeah. And I fixed a lot of problems. I made it more simplistic. I made it more efficient, more cost effective. And I just learned a ton from there. So anything property, I do really well.
And because of that experience, I would say anything property, Greyhawk does really well, because you've leveraged all of that experience into training our producers and sales staff on how to write those things well, because there is a right way and a wrong way 100%. To do insurance.
100%.
And for every one good brokerage, there's probably 200 to 300 really bad ones that just don't understand what they're doing, or they're simply paper pushers and they're taking direction and instruction from a client.
They're not understanding risk. They're not understanding the whole
exactly. They
don't
know how to calculate it. They don't know how to mitigate and how to help a client think about it in that regard.
Well, it's kind of what I called, Ryan Pineda, and I did the golf day with him, and I pitched him, hey, let's partner together, because I know property so well, and all of your clients are people who are buying property. Yeah. So, we're kind of in the infancy stages of that partnership, but it's because it's such a property driven program, and I can do something that we're efficient at. Yeah. And so we know there's a lot of money to be made there, and it's a good partnership with someone we like. He's another believer, so we really love that. And we've chucked a ton of new business on the board.
And the client response to Greyhawk has been
phenomenal.
Has been overwhelming, and really an affirmation of who we are as brokers and how we have handled our clients.
Yeah. And I think for us, we need to get better at social media, which is part of the podcast, part of this. We want to connect with people. There's just a lot of crap in the insurance industry.
Yeah.
And we do want to make it known that like there's a lot of good agents and you just got to look in the right places and you got to hear the right things. Just like any kind of white collar, you need to hear the right things to know this person's legit.
But why do you think that is? Like, why the stigma? What's the problem that we face as an industry?
So I think a lot of general terms are going to come out. It's not like fully true of everybody, but it's because there's really low barriers to entry, right? There's no degree needed. It's not like a CPA exam. It's not like a wealth manager where you got to get your series licenses. Insurance, you got to do 52 hours. You pass the test, which is really not that hard.
No.
And then you can go and sell a Fortune 500 company an insurance policy, knowing next to nothing about how it functions. So a lot of people get into it, go, hey, everyone needs insurance, which I hate as a concept. I really hate that. Even though it is true, I just don't like that mindset.
Yeah.
And people go, well, I'll just sling some insurance and it pays me every year. And, is a claim really going to happen? And I think a lot of people just go, I'll go into it, I'll make easy money and it'll be great. And it's not that easy when you look at it. I've made the opinion that it needs to have a degree attached to it or something, or a harder test, but it's not going to happen. There's no way it's going to happen.
Or like one of those continuing education designations.
And we deal in attorneys, actually. We deal in contract. So an insurance contract is literally written by attorneys who are at multinational companies, and they have all these resources to expend. And you're supposed to understand how those contracts function. It's not as easy as just I'll sell insurance.
Yeah. Well, I got referred earlier this year. We got referred that Mediterranean bakery.
Yeah.
That was having a really big problem with their workers' comp. And I was talking to him about terms and challenges that he was having and just things that were really basic to employee claims and injuries that they were experiencing on the job. And I said, your broker hasn't talked to you about this. And he said, well, my CPA is who I placed my workers' comp insurance with.
Yeah.
And I said,
it's just such a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
Nothing
absolutely.
Successful
And so
that.
we're there having constructive conversations about risk, safety in the workplace, and how to help, manage these things that are causing him a little pain and jacking up his insurance rates like crazy. And he's sitting there saying, nobody's ever talked to me about this before.
It's a common story that we hear, and CPAs, payroll companies, they try and get into the game because it is lucrative.
Yes.
But you got to know what you're doing.
Well, and if you're buying workers' comp through a payroll company, you have to understand that they are a payroll company through and through that happens to do workers' comp.
Yep.
That is not what you're looking for in a product that you are spending tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars on, because those costs can go up significantly if it's not done right.
Well, it'd be asking me to be a mechanic on your car. I know the terms.
Yeah.
And I know roughly where they are. But I don't do it well, So it's the same thing. It's the same concept. They're just dangerous enough.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like that in the life insurance game as when we first started, right? It's like we were dangerous enough to understand, but we did not want to do it because we knew we could screw people up. So as we've gotten better at it, obviously we've been trained. We've done a ton of hours to try and understand it, product knowledge, talking with carriers.
Yeah.
We've gotten to the point where we're effective.
Yes.
A lot of people just stay here and I'm just going to sell it. I'm not going to get all this continuing education. I'm not going to understand how this functions. It's just really tough for people because of the stigma that insurance does have.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to change it, right? And we really put that out there. We won't work with clients who are like, just give me the cheapest thing possible.
Yeah.
I don't care if that's a coverage I need, take it out.
Yep.
We let those clients walk out the door like, we are not a good fit for you. You're going to have a bad experience.
Yeah.
And just like going to a restaurant, having a good waiter serving you good food, it's a great client experience. We want to be that on the insurance side. So
at its core, insurance is investing in the future.
It is.
And so a lot of people want to talk about investing, buying assets, accumulating wealth, and they should, but they have to understand
it's bigger than just a liability.
Yeah.
It's just bigger than an expense on a spreadsheet.
And every wise investment advisor, every wise wealth manager is going to tell you that insurance is a necessary part
important.
and a tool really to be wielded in a good investment portfolio.
Totally. And we're balanced. We don't try and sell the world to people. We know that, hey, like we've told people you don't have that risk. I know you're calling me about it. You do not have a professional risk. You don't have this risk. Like, it's cool that you're asking and it's really good, but I'm not going to take your money.
We do the coverage for a large auto modifier. They chop, they modify, they weld, they customize, and they get a constant request for different types of coverages on contracts. And I'll just look at the CFO and be like, hey, this doesn't fit,
we don't want to just take your money.
Like, let's have a conversation with the person who's designing this contract so I can explain to them, why they don't need these different things.
We do it all the time. Yeah. So, I mean, again, we do things at a high level. We really want to make that known. And you'll see if you come to us and say, I just want you to bare bones it, we're going to be like, sorry. Like we have someone you can call for that.
Yeah.
And they can go take that liability because we just do not.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. I really like my life.
Yeah.
I got 4 kids. I got a house. I got a nice car. I got free times at church, a Bible study. Like I don't want to mess any of that up. And for me, it's a huge liability for me to take on stuff where people are like, just push the envelope and, take coverages out. It's not going to happen.
Well, and I think a big part of what we've done is help educate people as well on what proper structure is for their insurance. So we insure a large clothing wholesaler.
They went from little to big real fast. And they had $7 million in insurance coverage on all of their warehouse inventory. Yep.
And they had a $5,000 deductible on it. And he was hesitant to increase coverage on his property because he said it's going to be really.
He needed 15, right? So he needed 15
million, and he was coverage. He's like, it's going to be too expensive because I want my deductible to be low. And I said, well, right now you have to understand you have 7 million in coverage with 15 million in inventory. You have an $8 million deductible right now, and so helping him understand. A deductible, even if we ramp it up to 50 grand,
still smaller liability,
and a $50,000 loss is an inconvenience to a multi-million-dollar business, but an $8 million loss,
it's done. You're over.
Catastrophic.
It's over. Yeah.
So in that way, trying to help clients think constructively and creatively about how to manage these different risks.
We also do a lot. So I've now had a couple businesses go from small to large to selling for large amounts. There is always this like bell curve to where they got to change from a small business mindset to where this is just an expense that I can't afford to this like middle to large where it's like, this is a liability I can't sustain because you're taking huge risks.
Yeah.
Right. One of these clients was buying 50 to 100 vehicles at a time, which they were taking huge liability loans out for that. Right. And you're going, hey, if I mess up on it, this is a high interest loan. I'm personally guaranteed it's over.
Yep.
So we do a lot of coaching on like, hey man, you need to think about this different.
Yeah.
And now that we've been around a lot of money too, we're not playing in the small business, sphere all the time.
Yeah.
It's really comfortable for us to be like, hey dude, 50 grand isn't a big deal.
Right.
And it's not. Like we deal in huge numbers now.
Especially when you got people securing, $1 million SBA loans, leveraging their house, their life insurance,
all of it.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's like these are conversations that have to happen to help people think creatively about risk.
As far as what we're doing for like the life cycle of insurance, we kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
How do you see that playing out?
We want to recognize that cost is important.
Of course.
From the jump. Obviously, everything is, there's only one way, to build a business. It's either reduce cost or increase revenue. And so we want to help people keep costs down in the beginning. But then, eventually they have to look at insurance as, okay, this actually manages a risk that I have, an exposure that I have to my own personal wealth. And so we have to start thinking bigger picture.
When do you think that comes in as far as like if you had to pick a net worth? I'm always thinking in that like once you're in that million-ish net worth, you got to start looking at life a lot differently.
Yeah. Because a business that grosses, $250,000 a year is looking at it very differently than a business that grosses even 1.5 million.
Totally.
A $5,000 policy to a small business owner is a big expense.
It's a big expense. Can be.
And so, So I would agree with you. I think around $1 million, they need to start thinking bigger picture.
Yeah. And we talk about health insurance, which comes up, on top of it, you get big enough and you're like, well, I need to attract and retain people. Yeah. So usually you go from, I'm not offering that. I'm just going to try and bootstrap it to that $1 million mark.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, I'm working all these people that are with me to the bone. And what do they have really outside of a salary? Yeah. So then we come in with the health insurance piece and say, hey, like you probably need to offer this. Yep. You should think about a simple IRA for your people and do an investment matching for them.
Well, the question to an employer is, who is the last person that you would want to walk in your door today and quit?
Say bye. Yeah.
And quit. And then asking a business owner, what are the plans that you have in place to make sure that doesn't happen? Because then we start thinking about key employee, coverage.
And this is the life cycle part. You're transitioning out of the small business phase of like, I'm just surviving and this needs to be as little as possible to how do I grow it in a way to where I'm keeping good people. And we know human capital is the driver of how businesses grow. Yeah. There's no way around it. You can talk all this technology, but it's the people.
Nothing will kill a business faster than their employees quitting at rapid rates.
Yep.
Because then how do you grow? How do you service customers? It just becomes an impossible hill to climb if you don't have good people.
Yeah. So we started implementing, like you were just about to talk about, the key man life insurance. We were talking about IULs for these people to, instead of paying them a $50,000 bonus, buy them an IUL policy. It's an expense to the business.
Yeah.
And, in 10 years, they'll have X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. By the time they're 65, it's worth millions of dollars. And all you did was put in 50, 100 grand in bonus to it. And these are all the things that we look at differently.
And it's a selective benefit that you can do for select employees.
Of course.
Some people want to call it a discriminatory benefit, and that's okay too. It's just, I think discriminatory has a negative connotation.
It's a bad lawyer word
nowadays. But selective benefit, because a lot of business owners think of key man insurance as, if somebody dies, I need, some revenue from that person, but the bottom line is, actually, you need to hold on to that person.
And there's creative ways to do that.
And create a benefit structure that's going to help them desire to stay with your business long term.
Yeah. And then at a certain point, we see them get to like the ultra sizes, right? We have a couple of those where it's like, now you're in self-insured programs where not only are you considering how to use insurance, you're actually looking at how to benefit from the insurance. You're your own insurance company.
Yeah, you sort of flip the game.
You flip the game. And and we do really well in that medium to large, because we understand the captive space. We understand the middle space. We know the small game really well. I cut my teeth on that. But it's just not super profitable for us. We'll do it. And we have teams at the office to do that. But that's where we see the value provided to our other entrepreneurs.
We even talked to one of our larger clients this year that was getting into doing a lot of different things, and they had different arms of their companies going different directions that kind of, they kind of worked together, but they scared insurance companies, when a carrier's looking at it and saying, okay, what exactly do these people do? And you couldn't pinpoint it. And so we had long conversations with them about dividing up their arms.
And you had to sit down and say, you can be a gunslinger. We just need to do this in a way that kind of makes sense as a gunslinger. And then we can, keep doing what you're doing, but this is how it has to work. And we were right over an attorney.
We were. That's true.
The attorney said, don't do it. And we were like, this is not going to end well. And insurance tripled on them, right? Because it was like, well, nobody will do it except the most expensive carriers to allow them to do all the different things they were doing.
Well, and we talked to our attorney, who's fantastic. And
shout
if
out
anybody,
to James Devine, by the way.
If anybody ever wants his contact information, please let us know.
James Devine is a homie.
He brought up the point. He said, if everything in the United States ran the way that lawyers want it to run, business would not function.
Just gridlock.
And so we had ongoing conversations with their CPA, with their attorney, and just explaining to them, look, from our perspective, this is the best way for them to manage and run their business going forward. It was a little bit more back end office work for the establishment of it, but it saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars on their insurance. I still think
this is also where we spent, I don't know how many hundreds, almost $1,000 on James, just like, hey, talk to us, deal with it. Just conversations. A lot of agencies aren't even willing to spend money on attorney. They'll just give an answer. We spend money on attorney fees just to help our clients. And we do that with other things too, to try and expense things that benefit them. If you don't take that mindset in insurance, you're going to lose. You're going to have someone like us roll up on you who's paying attorneys, who's trying to do things the right way, and we're just going to trounce you.
You want to work with a good attorney when you're on our side, a good CPA, people that can help advise your client.
So I've been talking about the four legs of the horse, right? And like the financial guy, the CPA, the attorney. I think insurance guys need to be seen as that fourth leg that holds up the business. And again, there's a lot of guys who don't deserve to be that fourth leg. There are a lot of guys and girls who are deserving of that. You should be looking for somebody who is implicitly someone you can trust and go, hey, they have my best interest in mind. It's easier said than done. But they're out there. They really are.
Well, we've always said, if we do the right thing for our client, we're going to make money.
The
money is going to take care of itself. So to the point where we've given advice to our own financial hurt, where we know this is, this is going to cut back our commissions and things like that. But it's beneficial for the client, which means it's going to earn itself over 10 times.
It will find a way into our pocket eventually. And
because it's going to build goodwill. It's going to generate referrals. People are going to trust us more. It's just a smart way to do business, where you have bad brokers that legitimately just want their clients to continue to experience claims because it drives up the cost, and then they make more money.
It's an easy way. We talk about this every time. I'm like, if you grow, I make more money, which is how it should be. If you have claims, everyone's distressed. You're having a bad time. I'm having a bad time. I'm making more money. But we're all having a bad time. So we really want that. And gosh, I think it's a good segue of like insurance in general. What keeps you in it? Because there's a lot of stuff like that where we talk about there's some bad things that can happen. There's not good experiences. Like, what's keeping you in it? What do you see as the long-term future for us and other people that join Greyhawk? And, what do we provide that you think other people don't?
I think for us, it's I have a servant's mindset, servant leadership, helping people. And I have really found a niche in insurance of just trying to give quality advice that cares for a client and shows that you care for them.
And we're Christians, right? So like we're going to have to answer for it at some point, and we want to be able to kind of serve the Lord through this, and we want to be good witnesses. We want to be blessing to other people, which is what, I think is the right thing to do.
Yeah, we've enjoyed partnering with Christian organizations. That's been a blessing to us. But I think overall, a lot of people just don't understand it. We've seen people have claims that aren't insured. That was a recent experience that we got referred to a young lady who had gotten into a car accident and she was not insured. And she had no understanding as to why she wasn't insured.
So you think you get value long term out of just that, providing value to people in that
I get
regard?
I get a lot of fulfillment out of that as an agency owner, and even just as an insurance agent. I really enjoy helping people. I think that, now that we're on the business ownership and management side, I think also I enjoy creating a great environment for employees to work, hiring good people, inspiring them, showing them what it looks like to work hard.
We have a good time.
We do.
And we also go, all right, time to...
Yeah. Hey guys,
time to turn it up.
Let's button it up.
Let's go. And I think that's fair. I'm kind of like that. I love to screw around.
Yeah.
But I also get in those mindsets where it's like, my brows are furrowed and I'm like, working hard, and I'm kind of looking at me like, are you pissed off? I'm like, no, I'm great. But I'm in a mode where I'm just working, and that brings me a lot of joy too.
Yeah.
So
well, Hormozy said that one of his guiding principles for running a business is speed is king. And it's like there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth to that, especially in our industry where clients have things that they need it done quickly, they need it done right. We don't sacrifice quality for speed, but we can get it done fast.
Yeah, architects, they don't need to respond quickly. They need to draw for a long time and make it beautiful.
Yeah.
We are not that way. We need to be able to respond quickly. And we've said 90% of our business is just responding as fast as you can with the right answer. But a lot of people are like, I'll get back to you in 48 hours. And I'm like, if you did that to me, I'd be like, that's cool. I'll be with someone else in 48 hours. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So we take that mode. And so like when we're in the office, we have a good time, but we are moving.
It's been shocking to me how many people just don't respond to emails and to phone calls. And so you and I have said there's tons of money to be made in America if you will just respond to a phone call or an email.
Which is crazy because you have your phone in your pocket.
Yes.
Like it's not that hard.
Yeah, the majority of people are, have their
crazy.
emails and everything built into their phone. I think it's just laziness or complacency or whatever the case may be. Probably just a lack of drive as well.
Yeah. As far as, staying into insurance, like we talk about big vision stuff, about being this like large local shop and almost a small national brand. I think that we have a lot of aspirations to be able to have offices in all kinds of different states. And we want to buy agencies. We want to be able to scale this to a place where you're like, yeah, those dudes did it right.
Yeah.
And
we would love for Greyhawk to become a household name.
Yeah. Yeah, in some form or fashion. To a certain extent, we don't want to be this like corporate national brand.
Sure.
Because again, I don't want to crush people. And I think sometimes in corporate America, it's like, well, to get what we need, we're going to squeeze the life out of you.
It's a really fair point.
And we want want kids. I mean, I already have a bunch of kids. We want our employees to have kids. We want them to be able to go to baseball games, ballet dances, softball games, go on vacation with your wife. You got a date night, cut out early. Like we kind of want our long-term legacy to look like somebody who loved on people, who was fair, but, firm. And that requires a certain goal and mentality that just big business doesn't really fit.
Yeah, we want to build it, cultivate it, create a great atmosphere for employees.
We want to sell it for a lot of money.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. We've talked also about internal perpetuation as kind of our way, and those are different ways to do things. But we, again, because we want to be a big, small shop, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
We want our people within to be able to grow them to a place where they can buy it from us, and not just sell it to some private equity firm. We will. If we have to,
sure.
But that's not our number one goal.
We don't want to lose the personal touch. We recognize that a lot of people moved over to Greyhawk with us because of that personal touch. So we don't want to lose that. I was with my family last year at Disney World, and one of my larger clients was taking a pretty significant increase on her insurance, and I'm standing like next to Space Mountain having this conversation with her.
Yeah, the ride going right by you.
Going by, and I'm talking to her on the phone, and she was like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, I'm at Disney World in Florida. And she was like, why are you calling me? And I said, because you're important. You are important.
Yeah. And it wasn't any sweat off your back. Like it wasn't ruining your vacation in any way. So that's such a big benefit to what we do. I was in Mexico and we had like a little cyber attack and I had some stuff going on. I'm on a boat.
Yeah.
I'd had a couple margaritas and I was like, wait, what just happened? And I was on my phone. It didn't ruin anything for me. And like, again, I'm okay with working. I can put my nose to the grindstone and go for it. But it's just, that's the beauty of insurance. Like, it's stressful at very small increments of time. Otherwise, it's like, this is pretty cool. Like, it's a good gig.
But the ability to work remote, handle problems, all of those things.
I'll hire anybody from anywhere, honestly, if you're good at your job. It's more than just business for us. I think we're friends. You know, we have a really good relationship. What do you see? I mean, this is for everybody, right? Who's looking to partner, which we think is a great idea in general, especially for believers. I know a lot of people might have a different opinion of that. We've had those people. What was the, like, this will work from a long-term perspective as with a friendship and, you know, being believers in Christ?
I think a lot of it is being self-aware. I think both of us can be very transparent and candid, not just with each other, but with ourselves about where our strengths and weaknesses lie. For me, that was the biggest part of evaluating it. I just looked at it and said, I have weaknesses in A, B, and C area, and Charlie has strengths in A, B, and C area. So just being able to evaluate yourself honestly, which a lot of people struggle to do. They don't want to be.
We talk about this as an entrepreneurial strength. What you know you do well and what you don't are huge in how you scale your business.
Yeah, you have to be able to look inside and say, this is an area where I don't thrive, whether it's because you don't like it,
right, or you're bad at it,
right. And either one is sufficient enough reason to partner with somebody who is good at those things. Because otherwise the business is going to struggle.
It's going to struggle. And again, we're trying to get places fast. You're just holding yourself up, right? And I'm extremely self-aware of who I am and who I'm not. I think that was very clear even before when I was younger. I knew what I was and what I wasn't. I think sometimes I was made to feel bad about who I maybe wasn't. But, you know, like, I think God made me this way, and like, I just got to play to my strengths. I've always felt like that was what I did really well. And, you know, we just want to, I think on our end, have people understand that, like, we do have a really well buttoned up shop because we're hypercritical of ourselves. And, you know, we're really fair. We do a good job. And that's kind of just a general intro to us, I think, on the podcast. And I think it's time for us to kind of wrap it up. But you're going to see more of these episodes. It'll be a little bit more entrepreneurial, pushing forward as to concepts, but we just wanted to introduce you to us and who we were. And you'll see some clips on Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff to try and provide some value from some of the snippets. But we really appreciate you for listening to the Risky Assets Podcast, episode 1. Look out for episode 2 coming very soon.
Thanks, y'all.
See
Take
y'all.
care.